to BWL Draft Night. We continue here with the 14-15U draft. And Bernie, this one's exciting because I think you've got, kind of an obvious, first 10 picks or so. But after that, I think there's a lot of fun players in the mid to late round of this draft. I think this draft will go a lot of different ways. I think both these coaches have very different boards here for the second half of the draft. And maybe where Rob had the advantage in the last draft, knowing that 12U team, KJ obviously knows his 14U guys. And the first overall pick is for the Pinstripes. It is in. And Bernie, at least for me, no surprise here. It is going to be Evan Lamblasta, as it says on the card. Evan Lancaster, Bernie, big-time hitter, big-time pitcher. Just threw 80 off the mound the other day. I mean, Bernie, Evan Lancaster, in my opinion, the obvious number one pick. What do you think about Evan Lancaster going number one?
Well, I still think that's the fairly obvious number one here. Like you said, one of the best pitchers in the Bears, also one of the best hitters on that 15U Floyd team. Also a decent little shortstop, too, if you need one.
I mean, this guy played really well in the BWL last year as the younger guy, and now getting to be kind of that big dog, first overall pick. I think a very deserving one here. The first round pick for the Pinstripes, they'll go with, again, in my opinion, the obvious pick, Lucas Wilburn, who I think, is every bit as good of a hitter as Evan, if not maybe even a little bit better. I think pitching-wise, he's probably safer than Evan, but maybe doesn't quite have that upside. But, no complaints here. I think if you're the throwbacks, getting a very good player, really good defensively at first base, really good on the mound, and one of the best hitters, arguably the best hitter in the draft, Bernie. Lucas Wilburn, a great start to a team. And, Bernie, I'm going to ask you about both these picks here, if this pick's on its way. I'm going to ask you about both these picks, Bernie. Tell me how you like this throwback start here. This duo of Lucas Wilburn and the first pick of the second round, Mason Geddes. Bernie, not sure if Mason Geddes will be able to pitch in week one. He will be able to pitch sometime early in the season. I think if Mason was fully healthy, this would be an obvious 2-3 pick here. But what do you think here, Bernie? Lucas Wilburn and Mason Geddes as a start to this draft.
Yeah, I think Mason will be healthy pretty quickly here. Probably two of the top 4 or 5 hitters at the age. 2 of the top 4 pitchers at the age, and also the best defensive first baseman and shortstop in the draft. I think this is a great start for the Pinstripe squad, or throwback squad.
The Pinstripes here, Bernie, tell me how you think this duo compares to the throwbacks duo with the second pick of the second round, the 4th overall pick. They're going to go with Lucas Velchek, a big-time arm. And Bernie, in terms of ceiling, you got 2 big high-upside pitchers. You got 2 big high-upside bats. I think right now you got 2 kind of high-floor picks versus 2 high-ceiling picks. What do you think about this kind of duo versus duo here, Bernie?
Yeah, I think with Veli, I think still in the second round, you're still looking at, possibly 2-way players here. I think the offensive season that Veli just had in the fall, maybe moved him up here a couple rounds.
Another player, Bernie, who is a super high-ceiling pitcher. When he's on, one of the most dominant pitchers at the age, it's going to be Conrad Comiskey, who comes off the board here. Bernie, a great defensive catcher, really a great defender at any position, big-time pitcher when he's on, and the bat, he had the highest batting average since joining that 15 Floyd team. A guy who puts the ball in play, is going to get a lot of hits. Bernie, this start here, Lancaster, Velchek, Comiskey, a very good start here for the Pinstripes. You got your shortstop or third baseman in Evan Lancaster. Conrad, you assume he's your catcher, but he could play, short or third as well. And then you got Lucas Velchek, who big-time pitcher, big-time hitter. Gotta love this start here for the Pinstripes. Bernie, who do you think is kind of that first 14U player you see coming off the board here, and when do you see that happening?
If I'm picking a 14 player, I'm going to pick the Landon Portell, the smaller Portell. I think it happens at the very latest when it gets back to Kennedy. I think it could happen, possibly as early as 7 here.
Yeah, I was going to say 4th or 5th round, Bernie, is when we'd see him come off the board. But before that, with the second pick of the 3rd round, the 6th overall pick, it's going to be Logan Payne. And a very nice offense to start this team. Wilburn, Geddes, Payne, a really good offense. Logan Payne, a guy who can pitch if you need him to pitch. He definitely will throw strikes, plays very solid defense. Even this fall, Bernie, he was playing some third base, did a good job there. He's a very good second baseman, very good first baseman, a lot of defensive versatility. The throwbacks coming in hot here with another pick. The first pick of the 4th round is going to be Aaron Noll. So loading up on those 15U bats. Bernie, Wilburn, Geddes, Payne, Noll, you got a nice mix of contact and power. Got a nice mix of kind of that high floor and high ceiling. Really nice start here for the throwbacks. What do you think about their first 4 picks?
Yeah, they have a lot of safe guys here on the mound as well. You talk about even Logan Payne go up there and throw a strike. Aaron Noll, I think, has proved he can pitch some big moments. But this is a very good offense, very good defense, and very good pitch staff. I think Rob's got a little bit of everything here from his first 4 picks.
Yeah, Aaron Noel. I mean, even he can play some infield if you need him to. Aaron Noel, I think you could make an argument, Bernie. He is the best hitter on this team. I think in the fall he was probably the best hitter for 15 Floyd. Get him here with the 7th overall pick, I think, is a great spot. Here we've got the 2nd pick of the 4th round, the Pinstripes. Deliberating here, waiting for their pick. And Bernie, I think, you're starting to get into the back end of that 15U Floyd lineup. I think we could start to see a 14U guy get considered here soon. And let's see if KJ is going to be the one to break the barrier. And he is. It's going to be Landon Portell who comes off the board here. Bernie, I know he's a younger guy, but definitely size is not a problem. He can pitch, he can hit. I think, Bernie, it's really not going to affect him too much playing with these older guys. This is a big-time player here. I actually like this value a lot for Landon Portell.
Yeah, this guy, obviously, I think probably the best stats at 14U. He looks the part, play good third base where you can pitch, you can hit, can kind of do everything here.
Yeah, I really like that pick. And let's see who KJ pairs it with here with the first pick of the 5th round. It's going to be Joey Burgess. And I got to say, Bernie, I wasn't sure if KJ would go with Joey Burgess here. He already had Conrad. I thought he might go a different route here, maybe get another pitcher on the board. But he gets a big bat and maybe frees up Conrad to solidify the left side of his infield. With Landon Portell, again, Evan Lancaster, and Conrad Comiskey. Again, you see KJ with a really good defensive roster. Joey Burgess, obviously a super high upside bat. What do you think here, Bernie, of that kind of little turn from Landon Portell and Joey Burgess?
Yeah, I think Joey has best to be one of the best hitters in the Bears, as we've seen before. And, maybe Kane's best Rob a little bit, right? Because now he's got Conrad and Joey. Where does Rob go for his catcher now?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of guys who can catch at these 2 ages. There's a lot of catchers, but not a lot of, super high-quality defensive catchers. We'll see what Rob ends up doing about the catcher situation. He may just wait. He may just sit it out and say, you know what, my catcher situation is not going to be ideal anyway. I'll just wait. I'll make a trade later and just load up on the big arms if KJ is going to let me. We saw in the last draft, Rob wanted to take basically a guy who could pitch with every pick for the first 5 or 6 rounds. And he's going to keep that trend going here, taking Trevor Anderson. And Bernie, not sure how much you've been paying attention to Trevor Anderson this fall, but he started to catch. So maybe that's the solution at catcher. A guy who can pitch, a guy who can hit, really an all-around player, Bernie. Played well in the BWL last year. I like this pick a lot here, Trevor Anderson. I think getting really good value at 10th overall.
Yeah, maybe a guy gets forget about a little bit with how much, he missed with football and stuff during the fall. But this guy was one of the better hitters on this team during the summer, can pitch, and I did forget that he did start catching this fall.
Yeah, he did, and he's not looked bad, Bernie. I mean, he's not as good as Joey or Conrad back there, but he's not a bad catcher at all. And when you look at the pitching staff, Wilburn, Geddes, these guys don't necessarily throw overwhelmingly hard like Evan Lancaster does. So I think Trevor can handle those types of pitchers. Yeah. So moving into the 6th round, we have the 11th overall pick for the throwbacks. Looks like they're still deliberating. Bernie, when you're looking at the first 5 picks for these teams, you got Lancaster, Velchek, Comiskey, Portell, and Burgess for the Pinstripes. Wilburn, Geddes, Payne, Knoll, and Anderson for the throwbacks. Where are you kind of leaning right now?
I would lean. I'll go ahead and lean with the throwbacks here. Wilburn and Geddes, obviously two of the best arms, great defenders as well. Logan Payne go up there. I think he's gonna get some outs here, especially the younger guys. And Aaron Knoll is one of the best hitters at the 15U age. And Trevor Harris is also another high ceiling player.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's close, Bernie. I definitely think the Pinstripes have kind of the higher ceiling, but I think the throwbacks probably all around here have a little bit of the better team. The throwbacks still deliberating here, yep, with the 11th overall pick.
I'm sorry.
Big thoughts going over there. I mean, Bernie, this is where I said the draft gets a little bit interesting. I thought I would say the first 9 picks were pretty obvious to me. Those are the 9. Not in this exact order, but these are the first 9 I had going. Trevor Anderson was, to me, the 10th overall pick, was where this draft starts to get interesting, I think these coaches' board could look a lot different than each other at this point. And is that, say what I think it says, Bernie?
I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
Can you go ahead and write this for me again, Rob? I don't want to say the wrong name.
I think I might know what it says.
That's what I thought it says. Okay, so with the 11th overall pick, Rob's going to go with Rudy Montenegro Langley. I just want to make sure that was right, Bernie, because going here with the, Rob always talks about you favor the older players. He's going to go way young here. And before he's got a 14 player on his team, he takes a 13 player, Bernie. I mean, I know you love Rudy. Obviously, solves the catching problem. What do you think about this pick, Bernie? Rudy Montenegro-Langley, 11th overall.
Yeah, we'll see how his bat plays against some of these older guys. Throw a lot hard, throw a lot more off speed at him. But I guess if you need a catcher, man, I think Rudy's defense as good as the 14-15U level. He's that elite back there for my age, so definitely solves that problem.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, I think you get great here at catcher. Maybe a little bit of a reach, but I think Rob wanted to make sure he got him. I respect that pick there. Rudy Montenegro-Langley certainly is not going to get a question mark from me. I love that guy at any draft. I mean, you could take him in the 18U league, and I wouldn't say it was a bad pick. We'll see what KJ responds with here. You got to think. I think KJ wanted Rudy, Bernie, but I don't think he was going to take him this early. KJ with the second pick of the 6th round is going to go Parker Ells, a guy who spent a lot of the season injured. Bernie came back in the last couple weeks and really did hit well over the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season. Defensively, very solid at first, very solid at second, very solid at third. I think it just gives KJ another nice depth piece here with Parker Ells. What do you think about that pick, Bernie?
Yeah, another guy that I think people forgot about a little bit with the IL stints, but this is one of the before the season MVP picks. I think a lot of people would have said.
With the first pick of the 7th round, it's going to be the second 14U player off the board. It's going to be Colby Lair. This is a guy, Bernie, again, another catcher, but I think you're drafting him more for his bat and for his arm especially. I think this guy, if he gets his control down, I think could be one of the most solid pitchers in this draft. I think hitting-wise, he's only going to get better with this winter training. I think a nice upside pick here. I think you got kind of the safe pick with Parker Ells and kind of the upside pick with Colby Lair. I really like this kind of picks back and forth here, Bernie. The next pick coming in, the 14th overall pick, the second pick of the 7th round, is going to be Nick Byrne. And I got to say, I think KJ has got to be a little bit heartbroken with that one. I think he wanted Nick Byrne a lot, a big-time hitter. I think you can argue that he was the best hitter on that 14 Floyd team this fall. And, I mean, Bernie, when you're looking at this roster, every player on the throwbacks has that potential to be a big-time hitter. Nick Byrne here. What do you think about the Nick Byrne pick at the 7th round?
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about before, you draft guys for a couple months from now. We saw what Nick Byrne was able to do last winter when he went from basically a scrub to a superstar. I see no reason why Nick Byrne does not continue to get better and make Rob look even better. Drafted him all the way back or all the way in the 7th round.
Yeah, I think KJ was going to take Nick with the 16th overall pick. Does not get to him. We'll see what Rob pairs Nick Byrne with here with the first pick of the 8th round. Coming in here, the first pick of the 8th round. And Bernie, Rob took his first 14U player, but he's going to take his second 13U player with Harrison Blabaum. And it's interesting, Bernie, Rob always kind of, spouting about the older players being the way to go. He's now got 2 13U players. Bernie, I know you've got all the confidence in the world in Rudy and Harrison, but how do you realistically think they will play against these 14, 15U competition?
Yeah, we'll see, man. Look, they're facing some guys here in Evan Lancaster. They've never seen anyone throw as hard as Evan or the off-speed Evan has. A Conrad or a Veli, stuff like that, to where, I have all the confidence for these two that they'll adjust appropriately and they will go off again, but it's to be seen here. It's a little bit of risk, but, it could end up being, one of the better picks in the draft.
Yeah, the top 3 throwers on this pinstripe team, all hard throwers. I mean, Evan, Veli, and Conrad are all 75-plus off the mound. So, the velocity is definitely going to be there when facing these younger guys. But we'll see. I mean, Rudy and Harrison have overcome every challenge up to this point. We'll see if that continues here playing up in the 14-15U league. With the second pick of the 8th round, the 16th overall pick, the Pinstripes are going to go with Hank Schultz. This is a guy who I know KJ liked a lot over the course of the fall. Another catcher, KJ really adding to his catching group. Another guy who can play a nice solid defense at third, second, first. And a guy who can just, in my opinion, Bernie, flat out hit. I mean, and a guy who can throw strikes, do a little bit of everything. I like Hank Schultz a lot. I think he's one of my favorite rookies that came in this season. What do you think about Hank Schultz, the pick here?
Yeah, it's a guy that I think when he joined the Bears, I really didn't have too big an opinion on one way or the other. You look at this guy's stats. This guy put up stats all year. This guy can just flat out hit, like you said. He take the mound as one of the better pitchers as well at the 14U age.
Yeah, KJ got a lot of pitching here. You got the 3 kind of big arms at the top, but then you add a little bit of Landon Portell, a little bit of Colby Lair, a little bit of Hank Schultz. I mean, you got the depth as well. from this pitching staff. So I like what the Pinstripes are cooking here. I think the biggest weakness for this team is just going to be offensive consistency. We know Velchek can be a little bit hot and cold sometimes. Joey Burgess kind of same thing. Parker Ellis kind of same thing. I think if this team can hit consistently, I think this Pinstripe team is really set up for success. With the first pick of the 9th round, a guy who really came on the second half of the season, Bernie, Dylan Graham, going to go to the Pinstripes. This is a guy, Bernie, that I really just liked having on my team over the second half of the season. I mean, this guy, he can really do it all. I mean, he hits well. He really stepped up for me defensively. I know this is a guy, Bernie, that you've liked for a little bit of a long time. Seems like this year he really stepped up his commitment level, and I hope to see that continue this winter. What do you think about the Dylan Graham pick?
Yeah, I said, for years now, this guy's just a good hitter. I think his defense come a long way. Like you say, the mound as well. So a lot of use here out of Dylan.
The next pick here, the second pick of the 9th round, is going to be Dominic Palucci. Dom, another guy, in my opinion, one of the best second basemen, if not the best second baseman in the draft. I think this guy defensively has turned from a guy who, you couldn't even put out there to a guy who I think is very, very good defensively. And the bat, I think, at times has been a little questionable, but definitely at the end of the season, this guy was swinging it really well once he got used to the drop 3. I like this pick a lot, Bernie. I know Dom can be hit or miss sometimes, but I really like this pick here. The throwbacks on the clock here for the 10th round pick, and then I'm going to ask you about both these picks here, Bernie, here in a second. Looking at the draft board, I mean, when you look at this team, Bernie, the throwbacks, it feels like that they have a lot of high floor guys, and then they've kind of sprinkled in some of those high ceiling guys. I think Harrison Blebaum, you can't argue his ceiling's really high. If he figures out these 15U pitchers, he could end up being a 3rd or 4th round value to this draft. And now you kind of, you mix in the high floor guys. Mason Getty's super safe. Lucas Wilburn, super safe. Logan Payne, super safe in my opinion. So you got that nice mixture here for the throwbacks. And let's see what they pair here with Dominic Palucci in the 9th and 10th round turn, Bernie. And I want to get your thoughts here on both of these picks. Dom Palucci in the 9th round, and in the 10th round, the throwbacks are going to take Maxim Borodko. Another guy that you kind of forget about during football season because he does miss a little bit more than he does in the summer. But, Bernie, this guy, when he was on 15U Floyd in the summer, he led the team in home runs. I mean, there's no doubt of the ceiling this guy has. What do you think about that kind of pick here of Dom Palucci in the 9th, Maxim Borodko in the 10th?
Yeah, I think Dom adds a lot of safety to a team. I think it's a little bit risky. Like I said, great defensive baseman. I think he hit a little bit, but we'll see what he can kind of do in the BWL. And Maxim, a guy I think this guy kind of forgot about. I forgot about Maxim in this spot here. I think it's a great spot for him. If he's there every week, this guy could easily end up being a top 11, 12 player in this league here. Put this throwback team on top maybe.
Yeah, Maxim, I think, adds a little bit of depth, at least at first base. Offensively, I think he has the potential to be a big-time hitter. He hit well in the BWL last year. When I'm looking at this throwbacks team, I think they need a little bit more defensive versatility. I'm not sure, who's going to be the every-inning third baseman here, unless you trust Harrison or Rudy to do it. I'm not sure who's going to be kind of that every-inning third baseman. And then I think their defense looks really good on paper, but once you start putting Wilburn on the mound or Getty's on the mound, who's kind of filling in those positions? The Pinstripes coming in with the 20th overall pick, the second pick of the 10th round, is going to be Nifri Kabarkis. And Bernie, some really nice value here. I was kind of thinking Nifri was going to go a couple rounds earlier. I think you get a guy with an enormous ceiling, very good defensively at first. When he's on, arguably one of the best hitters in the entire draft. And Bernie, I'm going to get your opinion on both these picks here. As the first pick of the 11th round, another very high ceiling pick in Jack Kester. Now, we saw, I think, and this is why he fell a little bit, the BWL doesn't quite favor Jack Kester's hitting style. He pulls a lot of fly balls, which, in the BWL doesn't always work the best. But, Bernie, in terms of the 10th and 11th round, Nifri Kabarkis and Jack Kester, I could have easily seen these guys being 6th or 7th round picks. What do you think about these two picks here for Nifri and Jack Kester for the Pinstripes?
Yeah, I'm not trying to hate anybody else here. If I'm looking at the picks in front of them, going back even a couple rounds here, and I'm like, okay, is this guy a better hitter than Nifri? Is this guy better hitter than Jack Kester? I have to go back pretty far before I find a name that I'd be like, I'm confident saying yes, this guy's a better hitter than Nifri or Jack. So great value here. These guys could easily end up being your 3 and 4 hitters, on a really good BWO team.
And Jack got on the mound a couple times this fall. He's not a big-time pitcher, but I think if he really wants to be a pitcher, he really wants to work at it, I think he could offer some value pitching as well, because he's not going to offer value defensively, obviously being a left-handed thrower. We'll see what the throwbacks decide to do here with the second pick of the 11th round. And it's going to be Parker Wilson who comes in here. Bernie, I said they needed some defensive depth. I think you got a very nice glove here in Parker Wilson. This guy can play short, can play third, can play second. All above average in my opinion. I think this guy's a very good defender. And his bat is only getting better. So what do you think about the Parker Wilson pick here?
Yeah, it's like late in the draft, you're looking for some, a player to add some sort of value, and Parker's definitely going to bring that on the defensive side of the ball. We'll see what he does with the bat, but like you said, defensively, this guy can do a little bit of it all.
Yeah, I think he kind of is your shortstop when Mason Getty's pitches. I think he's in the conversation to be the starting third baseman as well. With the next pick here, a player that I know Rob likes a lot and a guy who really came on in the second half of the fall, it is going to be Reed Rustio coming off the board here. Bernie, this is a guy who, the more I coached him, the more I liked him. I mean, this guy really does give his all, and he really has come a long way with the bat. I think, he does play some infield. Probably don't want to put him anywhere but second base and maybe even first base. Pitching-wise, he can throw some strikes for you as well. I think a nice pick here. Parker Wilson and Reed Rustio, two kind of safe high-floor picks. What do you think about that combo there?
Yeah, definitely some high-floor guys here. One on the defensive side of the ball, I think one on the offensive side of the ball. That if you put them up in the spot here, they're not going to be intimidated. They're going to go up there. They're going to do their job, and they're going to do it, fairly well here.
The 24th overall pick for the Pinstripes on the clock here, and it is on its way to the draft table. The Pinstripes are going to go with Phil Lobeck, a big-time bat. Again, I think another guy who falls a little bit because doesn't necessarily offer a lot on the defensive side of the ball, but he has, gotten an interest in pitching. He's been in precision pitching lately. He pitched well toward the end of the season. I think this guy could end up being a very quality bat and a very quality arm late in the draft here. I think this is going to end up being a very good value. And Bernie, I want to get your thoughts of Phil Lobeck along with this pick here. The final pick for the Pinstripes, the 13th round pick, is going to be Owen Weibrecht. Great defender. A lot of potential on the offensive side of the ball as well. And I think Owen Weibrecht, a nice pick. Phil Lobeck, Owen Weibrecht, what do you think here?
Yeah, I'm getting flashbacks to last year when Owen Weibrecht just ran the bases like a madman every single time. He cares about for anybody. So Owen is the best base runner in this draft. He's the best base runner maybe in the Bears. And I'm getting some flashbacks to last year. I watched Owen run around the bases a ton.
Yeah, and Bernie, I know Rudy is a dominant 13U catcher. We'll see if it works at the 14, 15U level. So this is going to be the final pick here of the 14-15U draft. If you don't get drafted, don't worry, you can still get picked up. Last year, 104 players were drafted, but over 150 played in the BWL. So don't worry if you don't get drafted. You can still get picked up. There's going to be a lot of transactions throughout the season. But the final pick here in the 14-15U draft for the throwbacks, it's going to be, Bernie, not their first, not their second, but their third 13U player coming off the board here. Owen Lewis is going to go. Again, the defensive versatility, certain. And another guy, Bernie, that kind of adds, depth to this team. What do you think about that, Bernie? 3 of your guys going in this draft, arguably one of the most successful seasons for a Bear team. Did you expect 3 guys to go in this draft, Bernie?
Harrison Rudy, yes. It was a matter of, was either an Owen Lewis or an Alexville going to get picked here at the last kind of spot here. But they bring value to the team. Either if you drafted Owen Lewis or Alexville in this last spot here, they're great defensively. They're going to put together some good at-bats.
That's going to do it here for the 14-15U draft. We will be back shortly with the 16-18U A-League draft. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.